All right. So now our next talk will be about communication. And we all know it's not just about, like work communication, but overall, people are complex and communication can be so hard sometimes and very easy nowadays, especially with all this texting and chatting and whatnot. Things get really, really messy. So with my great pleasure, I want to introduce to you Anno Timmerbacka from Green Elephant, who will be exactly talking about this and many other things. So Anno,
thank you.
Stage is yours.
Thank you, everyone. As a gamers, you've used to change a point of view in the middle of the game. When you're entering in a combat situation and you're not really sure what is happening, you're using different goggles to analyze the situation, to find the right protocol, the right call to action or behavior. You can have a night vision. You can start seeing life forces, even X-ray or weapons that are there. Even in the best cases, you can see what is the mental state or emotion of the person you're having the combat with. Now imagine if you could do this in real life, in your communication situations. If you could analyze and be self-aware and see the situation where you are, yourself or with someone else, to really analyze and see with different goggles what is truly happening so that you can choose the right behavior, communication behavior in that situation. Well, that is exactly what we are doing in Green Elephant. We are giving those lenses, those superpowers, those Jedi skills for you to see differently. We call this as a metacognitive communication. It's a bit of a mouthful, so what do we mean by it? We mean that you are able to analyze your own thought processes. You're aware of what are those thinking patterns that affects your behaviors. And what are those behaviors, those patterns, those habits, those communication habits that you have? Well, that's again, what are those different communication processes or thought processes related to communication? What different kind of patterns of behaviors one could do and have with the communication? That is what we've been researching with Green Elephant. And this is our best attempt to instill everything into one vision. We created a periodic table of conscious communication. You're not going to see the details of this. Oops, sorry about that. But we have gathered in this particular infographic all that we found so far that impact on communication and interpersonal relationships. Now, all of the content has been divided in this periodic table on 8 lenses. And each of these lenses are a bit like those night vision goggles or X-ray vision, that you see different aspects and different things from those communication situations you might be in. Well, let's take the first one on here, ego. When you analyze the situation or look at the situation, the communication situations where you are, let's say it's a bit tricky. There might be some issues that you're not really understanding what it is. It might be that you see something that, okay, there are some hurt egos here. Or our ego triggers are a bit different of the two people or parties in the communication. Something might pop up to awareness from there. Oh, I need to be mindful of that. Or it might be dynamics. It might be that no one wants to be leading. No one wants to take a lead of the situation or the communication. Or it might be that both want to lead at the same time and they are having a bit of a battle there, who gets to be the one who says how things are moving forward. We have 8 of these lenses, and each of them will give you a different point of view. We also divided content on this periodic table on 4 different levels. Where some people think that communication is only about talking, the verbal level. But you already know now that research is saying that it's only about 5, 7, 8% the impact of the verbal communication. So what else is there? There's all of those things, the content that is how you communicate. It's the body language, it's the tone of voice, it's your intonation, the rhythm, the timing, all of the other topics So it's a massively vast area, the whole nonverbal. And then there's the area that the modern science is hardly studying or researching at the moment, which is the intention. If the verbal level is what you say, and the nonverbal is how you say it, the intention level is why are you communicating in the first place? Are you there to boost your own thing, that I'm here to sort of tell you something that focuses on me? Or is my intention as a curiosity of the other? Or is it building trust? What is my intention? And majority of the time, people are not aware of the underlying reasons for them to communicate. The top 3 parts are focusing on the human-to-human communication, where we're communicating to someone else. But the whole bottom part, those mental model levels, is about those mindset, the frameworks that shape the way you think and understand human-to-human interactions. And that is when you are sort of communicating to yourself. That's the human-to-self communication. Let's take an example. Let's take conflicts. In the Northern Europe, especially in Finland, majority of us are conflict avoidance. So our mental model is that all conflicts are bad, which may affect on us that when we find ourselves in a conflictual situations, how do we feel? What is our intention in that conflictual situation? Might be just get away, run, hide. And then, of course, that automatically aligns how we behave and what do we communicate in those situations. So in this periodic table, we have 127 elements so far. We are finding more as long as we continue our research. And today, we are focusing, I'm opening you one of the think elements, which is called green, blue, red. So what is this about, the green, blue, red? It's about influence. It's under the influence lens. So how can you influence respectfully in the times of DA and stuff, the whole cross-cultural teamwork that the majority of you are working cross-cultural teams. So how can you be using green, blue, red to influence others? Meet Harvey Specter. Those of you who have watched this series, which is The Suits from Netflix, you do know that they're using every means they have. These top-notch, high-flying lawyers are using everything they have to win their cases. They squeeze where it hurts. They twist. They call for favors, old favors. They use whatever they can get in their hands to dominate, use their power to win. So domination is one way to influence others. When you use your status, your power, your reason, and eventually your objective is to win. It's a very effective way of influencing someone. Luckily, there's a lot of laws that hinder that we're not able to use this too much in the workplaces, hopefully. The problem with this is that because it's a win-lose, there's always someone who loses, especially in this series we see that they might bite the bullet for a while, but they will get back to you when you are in trouble, then they will use the domination afterwards to get back to you. So maybe not the best strategy to influence others and in a long term. So what else is there? Okay, Cambridge Analytica was known, got into our awareness a few years back on this data scandal where they were using Facebook algorithms to manipulate those people who were a bit vulnerable and to push them content that would convey to vote. That was very manipulative because they were appealing to their emotions. Manipulation is when you appeal to someone's emotions to get them do what you want, but you're not really open about your deeper intentions. Okay, I'm a mother. My kids are now grown-ups, but I've used this. Darling, you do want to have your allowance, yes? Yes, mommy. So you better go and tidy your room. That is manipulation, of course. But again, one question is that in the long run, as a main strategy, would this serve your teamwork and and trust and that psychological safety that you might be looking for within your teams. Maybe not. So what else is there? You probably know this lady. Selena Gomez was recently voted to be the most influential person in the world, posting a lot of positive news in the social media and therefore boosting conscious decision making on others. So that's what we call conscious influence. It's when you make the effort of understanding the other one first, to build the connection and trust before you try to suggest or tell them what to do, suggesting an action. So, what would be the benefits of conscious influence? Well, if you have the superpowers, the Jedi skills of conscious influence, you're able to reduce stress. This is very sensitive. Oopsies. We are moving forward. Let's go back. Are we seeing half a slide there? Perfect. We're back on track. So here, with conscious influence, you can boost your own productivity. Why? Because you have less issues with the people around you. You can build confidence, you can build motivation, and all in all, tap into that collective intelligence of your team. You're able to have those crucial and those meaningful, those wicked conversations to tackle some of the problems in your teams and turn those dysfunctional conflicts into a trust-building exercises and this sort of innovative problem solving. And all in all, you can lead. You can lead consciously. So how? How do you do that? So the basic recipe, for which is green, blue, red, what does it mean? Let's look at this. Let's imagine that there are two people having a conversation. We put the anchor, let's say it's you and your colleague. The blue communication is when you're communicating something that belongs to you. It's the I talk, me talk, my feelings, my opinions, my needs. That is color-coded on color blue. That's when you put yourself in the spotlight. You want to be understood. Then, the green communication, where you are communicating on topics that belong to the other. As a gamers, you are worried about this. It's important for you that it's wonderful you to know that there is this forest that you can protect. Anything that you put sort of the microphone into the other person's head and you start saying out loud what they might be thinking, feeling, and so forth. And then we had the red. And the red is the agreements, the decisions, the actions that might come, that might overlap you too. Now, conscious influencers, when we were building this framework, we realized that conscious influencers were separating these colors. They were really clearly having the I talk and you talk. And then the suggestion was clear without any sort of, I wonder if, and they were very, very precise on what color they were focusing on. But can you guess how much percentages they were focusing on each color? Anyone? Any guesses, yeah? 80% blue. And then green? 10 and 10. Okay, any other guesses? Let's make an auction. Yeah? No one else? There were some other hands there. Was it exactly the same or not? Exactly the same. Well, then you should be surprised that based on the research, it is actually 30% or 20, sometimes 10 to 20% focusing on myself. Only 5%, sometimes even 1% on the red, the action. And 75 and sometimes up to 90%, the focus on the influence communicators is on the other. But of course, it's not always talking about them. It's putting the focus on. Remember, they are the nonverbals. Maybe you're listening, you're really looking there in the eye and you're present to them. That is also being focusing on the other. Well, then the second question. What color would you start with? You have three options. We can stay here for the next half hour. The lady in the back. Green, you would start, and then you would go where? Blue and then to red. Correct. Green, blue, red. Kind of spoiled it, didn't I? Yeah, that's it. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. So yes, green to blue to red. For sure, it is our logo, Green Elephant logo is in the middle. Of course, if this would be a dance, it wouldn't be that you sort of jump on the one foot, the 75%, and then you go a little bit of the blue, and then ta-da, the red happens. No, it's a dance. So it goes around the circle. It goes to green to blue, to green to blue, to green to blue, until the red is ready and it happens. So that is the basic idea of this. Make sense so far? Yes. Now, if we look at the verbal level, if we start looking at some of those speeches or the verbal level where someone has been influential, one good example could be JFK's old speech from the 60s about Ich bin eine Berliner. Again, you don't need to see the text here, but you can see how much it is actually green. He's not really informing them of anything. He's just saying out loud of the history, the things that they know. And he didn't go more than 2-3 sentences and the crowd was cheering because he was talking close to them. And eventually at the end, there's a slight call to action where he is saying something that, let's look at the future, let's strive for better. I mean, then we have Nelson Mandela, who was kind of using the same thing. The red is a little bit in the beginning as well, but you see it's majority of it's green as well. Talking close to your audience. And same here with the President Obama, which is almost a mere copy of the JFK speech. But this is color coding now the verbal levels. But it does get trickier than that. Because, as you know, the verbal is only about 5 to 10% of the communication. And there, you can, of course, be green. You can say those things out loud, what the other one is feeling. So you are concerned. You are feeling tired. You've been sort of working really hard to make this event function, and you have been organizing your calendars to get here. And you go, yes, that's right. And then, if the nonverbals is supporting that with your green body language, it might be open and eye contact or sitting down next to someone. Because which one trumps the other one? Well, you know that. If I would be sitting here in the corner saying, hi, my name is Timmerbacka, and I'm so happy to be here. You wouldn't believe me. You would believe my body language over the verbal. But these, of course, you can learn these skills. But the problem is often when we're not aligned. If my intention is to sell, for example, you all had these phone salespeople who call you because they want you to buy the Donald Duck annual subscription for Donald Duck. And they've learned the verbal script, or someone professional has even written that, lady, Anu, you're mother of 2. Yes. And you know as a mother how important it is for your children to read. Yes. And all their intonation, and they practice the whole thing. But if their intention is to sell me that Donald Duck, it shines through so hard that I'm immediately like, no, sorry, don't have time. So the influence and the conscious influence comes when you try to be as coherent and aligned with your verbal, your nonverbal, and your intentions level. Now, of course, now we talk a lot about green, and the workshop that we're going to do after the lunch will practice on green and the green verbals. So please join that if you still have possibility. But of course, red is not a bad color. The sales is good. Making decisions at work, that's what you do your influence on to make those conscious decisions. But It's just that, are you aware and mindful? Do you have those goggles to see what is going on so you can choose the respectful way of communicating? Let's say there's a fire alarm goes off. It would make no sense for me to start saying that, hey, you can hear the fire alarm, yes. And you probably noticed the fire trucks drove over there and it's getting a bit smoky in here. I would say that, hey, there's a fire, grab your computers and run. And I would be read through and through. I would start herding you out of here with my body language. I would scream, but I would be through and through red. Or then I would be through and through green. At least if we would be mindful enough that we would pause to think, what is my intention and how can I express that to the others? Does this make sense so far? Perfect. I put this here because as we are as a Green Elephant, we're in an open source, we're a sort of social impact company, so we have all our learning content is open source. If you are curious, use the QR code. You can find that also on our website. But that is something that we do push it to the world, and we want to help people to be more impactful and conscious in the way we communicate.